Okay, so let's talk about food fraud. What have I told you? The biggest danger isn't about getting ripped off, but about a hidden threat to your actual health. A recent study has uncovered a side of this issue that goes way beyond your wallet, and we're going to break down what that means for the food on your plate.
When you hear food fraud, your mind probably jumps to one thing, right? Getting cheated. You pay top dollar for something authentic, and instead you get a cheap knockoff. And we've all seen the headlines.
Yeah, we're all familiar with these. Horse meat passed off as beef, honey cut with cheap syrup. You know the drill. And it feels like an economic crime, right? It's super frustrating, totally dishonest, but that's where it seems to end. But what if that's only scratching the surface?
Well, a really deep analysis of hundreds of food fraud cases across Europe is showing us that the real problem, it's not about the money at all. It's about a hidden and frankly often deliberate danger to our health.
So after digging through all these documented cases, researchers found this really shocking pattern. Get this, roughly 1 in every 3 incidents of food fraud comes with a significant food safety risk. So this isn't just, a rare thing. It's a real systemic problem.
Okay, so to really get our heads around this threat, we have to understand that not all food fraud is created equal. The study breaks it down into 2 totally different types. And this distinction, it's the key to everything.
All right, so on one hand, you've got what they call fraudulent enhancement. This is the kind of deception we're all used to, right? Mislabeling a product to jack up the price. But then, on the other hand, you've got something way more sinister: food laundering. And with this, the crime isn't just about deception, it's about concealment.
And this is really the heart of what the study found. Food laundering. It's the act of taking food that should never, ever be sold. We're talking expired, contaminated, illegal stuff, and criminally sneaking it back into the supply chain.
The study uses this fantastic analogy to make the risk crystal clear. Think of it like this. Enhancement is like putting a fake designer label on a cheap handbag. Annoying, but not dangerous. Food laundering, though, that's like selling a dangerously recalled car with a clean title. See the difference? One crime fools your wallet, the other one could literally put your life at risk. It's a completely different ballgame.
And here's the real kicker. This food laundering, it's not some rare fringe activity. According to the data from all these cases in the EU, it is actually the most common type of food fraud. And, you guessed it, it's the one that carries the highest safety risks. Mind-blowing, right? So, okay, if food laundering is the bigger, more dangerous problem, where are these hazards actually coming from? Like, what are we talking about here?
Well, the vast majority of these threats fall into 2 camps. They're either chemical, so think contamination with banned pesticides or nasty industrial stuff, or they're biological, and that includes things like bacteria and viruses, maybe from an illegal slaughterhouse with terrible hygiene, or even just from selling food that is straight up rotten.
And these dangers tend to pop up in a few key hotspots. Perishable foods, no surprise there, are at the top of the list. Seafood and meat, where the crime is often just selling products that are way past their expiration date or totally unfit to eat. And with things like alcoholic drinks, the risk is chemical. Criminals are adding things like industrial-grade alcohol to counterfeit booze. Just wow.
So what's the big picture here? What does this all mean for us? Well, it points to a massive blind spot in how we think about and regulate food safety. It feels like we're looking for one kind of problem, while a much bigger one is hiding in plain sight. Because when investigators dig into these cases, they find this pattern of strategic, deliberate behavior. These are not one-off mistakes. We're talking about companies caught red-handed falsifying lab reports, knowingly selling contaminated batches to customers they know won't test for it, and even reselling products that were recalled because they had, shards of glass in them. It's unbelievable.
And that brings us to the most important takeaway from this whole thing. The real threat isn't just that criminals are messing with our food. It's that they are actively, consciously undermining the very systems we built to keep us safe. They're not trying to meet safety standards, they're treating them like an obstacle to get around. This just changes everything, doesn't it? We tend to think of food safety issues as accidents, a contaminated batch, a mistake in the process. But this research shows that for a huge chunk of food crime, the safety risk isn't a bug, it's a feature. It's literally built into their business model. It's a really sobering thought to end on. What this study does is give us a whole new lens to see this problem through. It's not about simple economic ripoffs. It's about the deliberate concealment of danger. It proves that food fraud is first and foremost a public health issue, and that leaves us with this one critical question. If our system has a blind spot this big, what else are we not seeing?